Hey kids, welcome back. As you can see behind me here, we're up to part 2, messing with the old Sears. Let's check it out. Hey, first off, if you haven't watched part 1, go back and check it out. Talk a little bit about the history of this and some of the details and specifics of this little motorcycle. But I want to add a couple corrections that the viewers have set me straight on, and I love it, appreciate it. Please keep it coming. I guessed at the horsepower of this, and I guessed wrong. Turns out the actual power is about 9, which, yeah, lawn tractor behind me has 20. So, yeah, it's 9. The other thing that was way offline, right here, I called this a oil fill or dipstick or something, I don't remember. But yeah, I was totally off of that. It's super, super cooler than what I thought it was. This is actually a crankcase breather, and it's kind of like a burp valve. I think it was their patent, and it's pretty ingenious. And like I said, it's just cool to look at. I mean, to check the oil on this, I should have known. It's like anything else. On the front end of this here, where I got my finger, there's a fill hole, and it's just like a differential or transmission. You fill it up till it spills out, and you stop. Around the other side is the drain. Nothing too fancy about that, and that's the kind of stuff you learn from the internet and people that are watching it. However, I might have known that from the start had I one of these. Yep, a manual. The group that I found online, they offer reprints of this stuff. And I tell you what, it is worth it. If you got one of these old bikes, the guys in this group, they have, there's some other stuff available for some Allstate and some other Sears stuff. I mean, I've got plenty of manuals, and yes, I read the instructions. Ta-da! And I don't care. Even if I know how to do it, I will still look in the manual, because sometimes you find out, well, that is a way that works, but the better way is the official factory way. I'll share a Steve McQueen quote with you. He said, "There's nothing I don't want to know. I'm the same way." Get a manual. It's worth it. I'll put the link below the video. You can check it out if you got one of these or any other Sears or Allstate. It's a good setup, good outfit. So on to our project. What I said last time is, we're going to try to see if we can get some spark out of this. I don't have a whole lot of hope that it's really going to happen, but we're going to give it a shot. At least we'll know where we stand. Turns out the random spark plug that I found in the toolbox here, it's not so random. It's the actual correct spark plug for it, but yeah, it's we'll use it for reference. Surprisingly, walked into my friendly neighborhood auto parts store. They had this hanging on the shelf, the exact right one that I need. We'll work with this one instead. Okay, I couldn't believe it, but this was actually wired up right. Although they just twisted the wires around the terminals on the coil, which is probably not going to ever work. And I've got the spark plug grounded over here with an old welding clamp, because I wanted to be able to see it from this side, and you only got 2 hands, so as expected. We got nothing, but that's okay. Also, the spark plug wire that I have on here is, I just made that. It's an old Corvair spare that I had laying around. I thought I had like a small engine kind of wire. I don't really know what this looks like. It looks similar to other stuff I've seen, but I thought I had one. I spent way too much time trying to find it the other day. So I think this just has like a little cap that grabs onto the wire and jams it in when you thread it down, because the coil is not like what you'd normally see automotive. And this is probably not going to show up at all, but you can trust me. Really just like a pin inside of there, and there's no terminal on this wire. At least that's what I think it is, because I've seen ones like this before, and it just stabs into the end of that pin, just kind of like pierces into the actual spark plug wire, because everything, you know, on a spark plug wire is basically insulation. There's, you know, 2 layers or multiple layers, and the wire that's actually doing the work is kind of buried in there. But there could be a lot of things wrong with my setup here, but the first one is probably the fact that these are just twisted around here and they're not even really tight. So let's start there before we do anything else. Well, look at that. I try to be organized. Let's see what we got. Well, we're getting nothing out of the magneto. Put a test light on it, 0. We should be getting something. So I'm not even going to worry about the coil, the plug wire, any of that stuff. We got to start here. I was hoping we could skip that part because tearing into this is a little more involved, but I'm a realist. I knew that was going to happen. To get this off of here, there's a couple steps, and it's pretty typical for any motorcycle or a small engine. This is on the crankshaft, actually, and it's a taper to where there's a nut that holds it on, and it's an interference fit. It doesn't come off. There's a keyway in there. Well, there's a couple specialty tools to get this loose. The first of which is something to hold this flywheel from turning, because obviously if you're trying to remove this nut that you see right here, you turn it, it's just going to go round and round and round, right? Well, I did look, you know, the internet is a wonderful thing. I got the part number because, hey, I got a manual, right? I know the part number. I looked it up, nothing. But really, what it does is lock this, or at least hold this from spinning. And, you know, I don't want to put, you know, some big old channel locks or something on here and tear this up. This is a nice, pretty aluminum piece right here. What it appears to do, the tool appears to do, is hook into, I can't tell if it's in this slot or these holes, but it's just basically kind of wedging it against the case to where it can't turn anymore. I'm like, well, man, I can make something like that. I'm sort of smart. And I tried a couple things. I had this from my junk pile. I don't even remember what the heck it was. Whoops. Linkage for something that I booger welded together. But it had a really nice little end on it here, as you can see. And I thought, well, I'll just jam that in there and I'll vice grip it to the shifter shaft. Now, great idea. Didn't work. Oh well. I thought, what am I really trying to do? I'm trying to hook this. I'm trying to fix a distance between one of these holes and something that won't move. So had this stuff hanging on the wall. These are some eye bolts. I don't know where I got them. Don't matter. But what I did was I put it around the shifter shaft here, and I put it in one of these holes. That locked it down. Now, this was totally unscientific. I stuck this in the vise, and I just leaned on it and bent it. The only thing I was concerned about was that, you know, I'd fall and knock my teeth out or something, but I don't want to stick this in too far because I know there's stuff behind there on the breaker plate I don't want to hit. So Don't go crazy and bend something that's 5 inches long and jam that thing in there. If you're going to do this, I mean, if you got something threaded, put a nut on the end of it and stop it. Because really, all you need to do is go in just far enough to grab this. And it's got to be enough to where you don't tear this up. And I didn't. I mean, you can see where I had it in this hole, but man, it worked great. But part two is, well, part 2.1.5 is, this is 19 millimeter. All right. I figured to be 18 millimeter like everything else, but it's not. It's 19. I figured this would be right-hand thread. It is not. It is left-hand thread. Now, usually, left-hand threads are marked. They have some notches, I guess, on the outside of the flats here. This didn't. Maybe that's in the manual and I should have read it. I don't know. But I started trying to crank this loose and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not right. I'm really putting, I had this hooked up, you know, my handy dandy tool that I made here. I had this hooked up and I'm like, I'm really putting a lot of force on this. This isn't a very big shaft here. I can break it, you know. If I lean on this, I got enough, you know, oomph that I can bust this thing. So something's wrong. I said, this can't be right-hand thread. It's got to be left-hand thread. So I zoomed in to look at which way the spiral is going, because you can see the threads, and I saw which way it was turning. And you got to kind of get into that Zen state, you know, of which way is it moving, you know. And I could see this was not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey like we've all been taught. It's lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. Got it loose. Don't break this. You see me turning this, I'm turning this clockwise and it's coming out because it's left-hand thread. Ta-da! You hear my son taking off there in his 4.3 Bravada. Yeah. No exhaust. So what? But this is what holds the flywheel on. And it's left-hand thread. Don't break it because you will regret it. Now, we're at the point to where we can pull the flywheel off of here. What's going on is there's threads on the inside of this. This has a big collar. You can see that. Really is just protecting the threads. And there's threads on the inside that go into the shaft. But on the outside, on the flywheel, are threads that you grab onto and you turn a puller on, pushes against the crankshaft, off comes the flywheel. As you saw earlier, I got some flywheel pullers, right? I don't remember which is which, but I got an old Husqvarna, Steve McQueen style, 400. And I got a Yamaha 400 and a Kawasaki H1. Who knows? We're going to use one, right? Nope. They don't fit. Well, this is standard sizes, and I don't have the right size. Whatever thread that is, which is 19 millimeter wrench. I don't know. It's somewhere in that range, but I don't have it. So we're going to have to stop right here so I can figure out where I can get a puller. I could make one. I got a lathe. I can cut threads inside, outside, but you get into that make versus buy proposition, and I know you can get a set of flywheel pullers to pull these off. So if somebody knows which size I need, throw it in the comments. That's our homework, right? Like, subscribe, share, comment, complain, whatever. But dare to be different. We'll see you later. Smith Motor Works.